For more on the GOP agenda in Congress and the future of DOGE, let's bring in Congressional DOGE Caucus co-chair, Utah Republican Congressman Blake Moore. Congressman, thanks for joining us. You've now got this package coming over from the White House of the DOGE cuts that the House is going to act on. It's about $9 to $10 billion. Why weren't these cuts in the first bill?
So the first bill, and I believe you're referring to the One Big Beautiful Bill reconciliation package, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is actually something that's commonly mistaken. That reconciliation package, whenever you do a reconciliation package, you have to follow the Byrd Rule, and the Byrd Rule only allows you to really work on mandatory spending. Much of the work DOGE has been doing is related to the appropriations process. So they're actually different sides of the ledger. It's commonly mistaken, but that's why they couldn't necessarily be in that One Big Beautiful Bill, is because that's dealing with mandatory spending, and we made some historic efforts there. And this is a monumental bill that will do a lot to reduce spending, is also keep economy strong. But this rescission package mostly focused on other types of appropriations items, and that is done separately. That's why it's coming out now, is because we've been working so hard on the reconciliation bill to date.
So DOGE is, at least Elon Musk seems to be packing up from Washington, D.C. He says he'll be involved. The president says he'll be involved. How do you assess his work? He set a target of $1 trillion. He came up with a $175 billion or so, according to DOGE. Why do you think he fell so short?
So I think Mr. Musk was very aggressive. We got to meet with him back in December, and there was a lot of excitement and there was a lot of anticipation. The federal government is not Twitter, and I think what he ultimately saw was, hey, this is a very dynamic, very complex organization, and let's ultimately do what we can. Look, the things that they've been able to uncover and find are excellent. And we need to focus on that and build on that, and that's the beauty of it. So yes, that is a significantly lower amount than was anticipated, and but we still need to be able to find everything within the area that can be done better, could be done through the private sector instead of government spending, and I think we're on the path to being able to do some of that.
As we go into all the budgeting you guys are doing, we talked a little bit about the big beautiful bill. Speaker Johnson spoke about that earlier today. Here's what he had to say.
This is a reconciliation package. It is reconciling a budget. So there is some additional spending, as you noted earlier at the opening, for national security, for historic investments in border security, the largest in generations, because those are necessary expenditures. But what my friends are missing is the tremendous and historic level of spending cuts that are also in the same package.
He talks about the spending cuts, but you've got Senator Rand Paul who's saying this morning that the math doesn't really add up. The increase in spending put into this bill exceeds the DOGE cuts by some measures, $3 to $4 trillion added to the debt. Is this bill just too expensive to be fiscally responsible?
So the important part of this bill, and I think it's being missed in the conversation, is that in 2017 we made historic tax reform that put American families, American businesses in a competitive rate. What that did was help grow our economy. It helped keep companies from taking their business overseas and being able to contribute more revenue to the U.S. government. And what we're doing is we're making that permanent. And remember, President Biden had 4 years, 2 of which he had the White House and Senate, and they didn't touch those types of that historic tax reform from 2017. What we're doing in this bill is making that permanent. Because if we don't address that, massive tax increases happen in about 7 months, and that's what some of the critics, I think, are misunderstanding. Now, as far as the spending, these are needed aspects that we have to be able to get done in order to shore up our security. These are national security issues. But what we're doing is making sure that we have long-term strong GDP growth, and with that, it's the best way to be able to deal with our long-term debt to GDP issue. And so, making much of that tax provision from 2017 permanent, which is the majority of this bill, is hugely important for economic growth, sustained positive revenue coming into our treasury, and that's going to be something that we can have some consistency on for decades.
I think what Paul and the critics are saying is that Congress can always seem to do that first part, where you cut the taxes or you keep tax rates low, and then we never get the spending restraints, and now we've got a debt to GDP ratio that is just entirely unsustainable.
So that's different. That actually is different from what I'm feeling back home, because everybody's really worried about the level of spending cuts that we're doing. And it is, there's tough spending cuts that are on the table. We're addressing some of the within the Medicaid program, like we're putting in work requirements, and it's really causing some real consternation. Democrats are going to use this as, hey, we're cutting too much. We're cutting too much. So yes, there's always going to be, are you cutting enough? Are you not cutting enough? We feel like we're doing a really important thing here. This bill we're bringing to the floor is revenue neutral, based on a very conservative growth estimate for the economy, based on $1.6 trillion of offsets, whether that be through spending cuts or other type of revenue increases. I mean, that's historic. That's something that we haven't done that level before. And so, yes, it would always be great to hit a grand slam on every bill. But with the cuts that we're making on this, a stand-up double or even a slide-in triple is a good thing here.
All right, well, CBO has it at about $3 to $4 trillion in cost, but these will be debated as the Senate now takes this over. Now, Congressman Moore, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.